Do you know what me and Uthar the Destined have in common? We're both super short, kinda chubby, and very stubborn individuals. Welcome to Realm Painters. In today's video, I'm going to be starting a 4-part challenge. Not challenge. That's not the word I wanted. I'm going to be starting a 4-part series painting the Leagues of Votann Combat Patrol wherever. Can you guys see it? I hope you can see it. Starting with Uthar the Destined. Obviously, you can build this guy as the Call, but if you don't have Uthar the Destined yet, this is the best way to get him. And I would recommend, if you want to get into Leagues of Votann, I would recommend getting this combat patrol while you still can, as it looks like there's a faint whisper in the warp of the Votann being in the future. And as some people in the Warhammer community can attest to, combat patrols this edition have not really been the greatest. So if you're interested in getting into the Leagues of Votann, I would do it now with this combat patrol, because I have a feeling they're going to be taking away the bikes, which makes me a little sad, but that's okay. The Leagues of Votann have a really interesting, retro space exploration vibe, or at least the Great Arthurian League does. And I really like that aesthetic. To be honest, I did not want to get into the Leagues of Votann, mainly because the only unit that I was exposed to when it comes to the League of Votann was the, not the Hearthkin, the Hearth Guard, I believe is what they're called. The Terminator equivalent guys. And if you can't tell from their box art, which should be covering my face right now, they have a weird case of baby face syndrome. I'm just gonna say it. Even if you want female dwarves, which awesome, great. I already have a couple of female dwarves. You know what they all have? Beards, because they're dwarves. They should have beards. I don't like the naked-faced, baby-faced, weird-looking models. They're really weird if you give them the face that is not the bearded one. I don't know. To me, it looks like a baby inside of power armor, and that it doesn't look right. But I'm not here to rant about GW's decision on what models they want to, or more specifically, faces they want to show for their box art. I'm here to teach you how to paint Uthar the Destined. Now, like I said, Uthar is the best guy to start with when it comes to out of the two options that you can build him, mainly because a lot of the army rules are really good and build off of what he can do. So I recommend, on the tabletop side of things, following this tutorial and making Uthar overcall. The very first thing you're going to want to do is start with a black coat. I used Chaos Black from Citadel as my primer. Next, you're going to want to base coat all of the green/blue armor with Sons of Horus. Now, you might be wondering, why am I starting with painting the armor? Mainly because it's the biggest chunks and arguably probably the easiest colors to correct. Once we get into more of the colors of the cloak, those colors are a lot harder to correct. So starting with the easy colors, and personally I like playing it based off of objectives, so painting the armor completely is the easiest thing to start with. Now you're going to want to base coat the inner cloth, the parts of the suit that are exposed, I should say, with Rakarth flesh. Now wash that Rakarth flesh with a watered down Agrax Earthshade. Now, wash the armor plates with Kalia Shade. Edge highlight the armor with a mix of Sons of Horus and Deepkin flesh. Edge highlight the Rackhearth bits with Rackhearth. Since you did that wash with Agrak's Earthshade, just highlighting back with that Rackhearth will work perfectly fine. If you don't like how dark it is, you can always lighten it with a little bit of white in your highlight. Now it's time to paint the gold parts. I used Retributor Gold to paint over all the gold bits, but there are other gold options if you're interested. Personally, for me, I like how the Retributor Gold looks more than most of the other gold bases for Citadel, but it's completely up to you. Now use Rakeland Flesh Shade to wash over all the gold. So you're going to want to paint the the tubes and part of the back panel and stuff like that with Leadbelcher. I unfortunately forgot to record this part. I'm using my phone camera, and they updated a thing where you could press pause on the recording part, and it makes it really easy when it comes in the grand scheme of things. But this was the first video that I attempted it, so there are a couple of more times where I just forgot to record or press play. I'll let you know when those happen and what colors to use. Just be aware of that. My bad. Now you're going to wash those Leadbelcher bits with Nuln Oil. Use Runefang to do all the little bolts and highlight the gold if you really want that extra shine. Abaddon Black is what I used to correct and just paint the general tubes on the armor. You can use whatever black you want. I prefer Abaddon Black because it's a glossier black, so that looks really good on tubes specifically. Use Runelord Brass on the sides of the backpack and that tube on the bottom of the backpack. You could use a Hashit Copper if you really felt like it, but I personally think that Runelord Brass kind of fits their gritty aesthetic a little bit more than copper. And the last step of the armor is painting that little white strip on the shoulder pad of Uthar. You're going to use Deepkin Flesh for this. Base coat the whole cloak with Rhinox hide. I forgot to record this part once again. I swear this is probably, hopefully, the last time that happens. Over most of the exposed parts of the cloak, layer Mephiston Red. Highlight the Mephiston Red with Evil Sons. Now highlight the highlight with Troll Slayer. On specific corners and edges, like the crease corner and stuff, I used Dragon's Bright to do dot highlights. Paint the undercoat and the vest parts, the little tassel things, with Deepkin Flesh. Once again, I messed up and I forgot to press play on the record button. So the last two things that you're going to do for the cloak, and then you're done with the cloak, is on the tassel cloak part, you're going to do a watered down wash of Agrax Earthshade, and over the red parts of the cloak, you're going to do a wash of Flesh Terror Red. I'm sorry, I didn't show you guys what I did. It slipped my mind to press play, and by the time I realized what had happened, it was a little too late. We're nearly there. There's only a couple of things left to do. Firstly, the gun. Start with white. Whatever white you got, I personally use Vallejo white, and you're going to paint the coil and vents. Wash the white with Flesh Terror Red. On the coils, do a layer of Evil Suns, and then highlight those with Fire Dragon Bright. Now do all the silver bits with Lead Belcher. So, like the handle, and the front of the gun, and whatever else needs to be silver. Now you're going to take your Runelord Brass and brass the bits. Wash over the silver with Nuln Oil. And base the gloves with Rhinox Hide. Now, just clean up any mistakes that you've done at this point, and we'll move on to the sword. If you look at the box art of Uthar, it looks like the silver is almost heated up. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by painting the silver bits first. Now, at the base of the blade, dry brush Evil Suns. Don't worry if you put too much Evil Suns on the silver bits. We can clean that up later. Now, towards the middle bottom of the blade, dry brush Troll Slayer. Now, towards the top middle, you're going to want to dry brush with Dragon Bright. And at the very tip, you'll want to dry brush with Flash Gits. Because this is a very, very hot blade, you're going to want to edge highlight with white. Now, you can try and do the lightning that is on the box art, like I certainly attempted to do. And the color that I used is Flash Gits, because we look at the box art, there's not really any lightning stuff at the very tip where it's super bright, but they get more colorful the further down you go, so I figured using Flash Gits, which is the color that you used at the very top, and just working your way down, helps build that effect. Now, this is when you would re-silver the silver. I kind of like the effect of the heat coming over and affecting the silver bits. So personally, I just did a little strip in the middle of where it was silver. You'll use Retributor Gold to golden the gold bits. Wash over the silver with Nuln Oil, and wash over the gold with Rakeland. And then you'll use Corn Red to paint the tassel, and handle if it's exposed. You'll use Rhinox Hide to paint the glove to match the other side. On all the leather parts, specifically the pouches and belts, base coat it with Dune Bull Brown. Now wash the Dune Bowl with Agrax Earthshade. And highlight with Scrag Brown. Paint the gold bits with Retributor Gold, as you could probably guess, and wash with Rakeland. Paint the handle of the sword and all the little tassels on him with Corn Red. Now paint the tassel rings and handle parts with Leadbelcher. Paint Rhinox hide over the weird, like, boot cover things that they have. And lastly, paint white over the center light and use Imperial Fist's contrast paint to give it a glow effect. Time for the final step. I swear, this is the last thing that you got to do. It's to paint the face. And the painting the face is always been a struggle. So what I'm going to do is base coat the face with dark flesh tone. However, the result ended up a lot cooler than I honestly wanted, so I would recommend doing Dune Bowl Brown instead. Now mix a 1-to-1 ratio of dark flesh tone with skin tone and paint the upper parts of the face. Now use just skin tone to almost highlight those. And with a 1-to-1 ratio of light flesh tone with skin tone, paint the very tops of the head and the cheekbones and tops of the ears. At this point, it seemed really gritty, so I washed with Gilliman Flesh to kind of tie it together a little bit better. Base the beard in black. Paint gray hair strands with the Adamastrum Gray. And I like going back and doing a little, every now and again, a couple little white hair strands with white. And just like that, you have painted Uthar the Destined. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I enjoyed making Uthar. He was a fun little dude to make. Like I said, this is going to be this first part of a 4-part series in which I cover the entire combat patrol of the Votann while we wait for them to get hopefully cooler stuff. And if you're interested, we do have a full tutorial on how to dry brush. I use that technique when I'm painting the sword. And if you're also curious as to how to properly water your paints and or glaze, we do have a tutorial on that as well. I hope you stay tuned next week. Hopefully, if we can get the recordings all done and stuff. Sheridan has a big fun video planned. It's more of less of a tutorial, more of a paints along type thing. But it took a lot of time. It took a lot of time to do, and as far as I can gather, really enjoyed making it, and so I hope you guys really enjoy watching it. So stay tuned for that. If you have any recommendations or future videos that you guys want us to do, other tutorials, other combat patrols, let us know in the comments below. And like always, you should like and subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll catch you guys in the next row. See ya.